Back in '98, my dad barged into the living room carrying a little grey monolith called the Sony PlayStation. As a kid raised on the humble Mega Drive and NES, seeing polygons wobble around in real time was like discovering fire, and nearly as hot. So picture my face when the big moment finally arrived. My first 3D platformer, Crash Bandicoot 2, Cortex Strikes Back. I was hooked faster than Crash chases a Wumpa fruit. A couple years later, our PS1 stash grew and we got our paws on Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped. Suddenly I was time traveling and tiger racing. Then Christmas 2000 rolls around and my dad got my brother and me some presents. I got Tomb Raider: The Last Revelation while he was given the first Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah, he got a little baby's game while I got something meant for adults. That's how I felt at the time anyway. Such ego, such hubris.
Little did I know that Crash 1 wasn't the stroll in the park I expected. Nope, this thing makes The Last Revelation look like a gentle yoga class. In fact, it stretched me into a knot. At the time, I resented every surprise TNT box and bottomless pit. Crash Bandicoot was developed by Naughty Dog and published by Sony Computer Entertainment in 1996, breaking ground as one of the first 3D platformers ever. In 2010, I reviewed it as part of my Month of Naughty Dog series, and I didn't exactly crown it king of the genre. Even when I made a video about it in 2012 for the German channel Tendo TV, I still couldn't find much to praise.
Now, while I enjoyed the remastered version in the Sane Trilogy a bit more, I still get this wave of anger and frustration whenever I summon Crash 1 in my mind. My brother was kind enough to let me borrow his copy of the game for this video. The tables have turned and now I'm the one playing a little kid's game.
So I'm playing the PAL version, which is slightly different to the NTSC version released in North America. In the PAL version, objects move faster and gravity is more powerful.
So here's the deal. I've never actually 100%ed the PS1 OG. Today we're diving in, traps and all, to answer the burning question. Is this prehistoric polygon wonder truly a bad time or just unfairly infamous? Strap in, folks, and put on your Crash Bandicoot socks. If I survive, you'll find out.
GFrom, the gamer, the legend, he's come to show you the way in this world of games. GFrom Reviews.
Picture a top-secret island chain hidden 300 miles west of Tasmania, because even mad scientists need a vacation spot. There, Dr. Neo Cortex zaps innocent critters with his Evolvo Ray, turning them into fur-covered goons ready for world domination. He even recruits an Eastern Barred Bandicoot, Crash, as his general. That is until Crash develops a crush on fellow test subject Tawna and the brainwash machine frigs up, causing a full-on existential crisis instead of mind control. Rejected by the Cortex Vortex, Crash tumbles off the lab balcony and makes a dramatic, if soggy, escape into the ocean. Meanwhile, Cortex pats himself on the back and preps poor Tawna for the role of damsel in distress. Stranded on a nearby speck of land with nothing but a stubborn sense of justice, Crash vows to rescue his new crush and give Cortex the wedgie he deserves. Crash Bandicoot sends you across 3 tropical islands, level by level in strictly linear fashion. Don't expect any branching paths, aside from 2 secret levels, so think of it like Super Mario World but more predictable. We begin at Sanity Beach, where Crash wakes up post-faceplant, confused but mission-driven. Find Tawna, spin everything. Spin to victory. His moveset is charmingly bare bones. He can jump, he can spin, and that's your toolkit for the entire game. There's no double jump, no long jump, no triple somersault backflip pirouette. It's just pure Bandicoot brute force. You'll be smashing a lot of crates. Most contain Wumpa fruit, which look like apples but legally aren't. Royalty-free fruit. Collect 100 and you get an extra life, a rule copy-pasted from Mario's coins and Sonic's rings. Except Sonic never had to bounce on a crate 10 times to earn his lunch. That's what you have to do on these bounce boxes. Spinning into them gets you nothing. Arrow crates are functionally trampolines. Bounce forever until you destroy them. Checkpoint boxes are clearly marked with C, so even Crash can't miss them. Then you've got ghost crates. You need to hit an iron exclamation mark box somewhere else to trigger them and make them appear. Because nothing says fun like remembering where invisible boxes used to be. Aku Aku masks are your only hope of defense. As a kid, I used to call it hula baka. One hit, one mask lost. One hit without a mask, instant death. Get 3 and you enter a short-lived god mode where you become a spinning crate mulching lawnmower of doom. Behold as I lay waste to all beasts in my path. Yard waste, that is. The level starts out simple, like a friendly tutorial with bottomless pits sprinkled in. Like most of them, it's a linear setup, basically leading you through a tube. But it also introduces us to the first branching paths. Granted, it's short, but you can't get over the right side unless you activate the iron switch crate first. Walking backwards towards the camera feels a little icky.
I wonder if this will become a problem later.
Hopping from one crate to the next becomes its own mini-game, as you have to figure out how long to push forward if you don't want to sail into the abyss. Almost didn't get that crash crate with the extra life. At the end you hit a little warp pad which teleports you back to the map. Ooh, I got a shiny white gem. Why? Because I smashed every crate, like a good Bandicoot. You may wonder what would have happened if I missed any crates. They would have dropped onto Crash's head like a sad slapstick sketch. There's a brutal twist to this, however. The game rewards you with a gem screen only if you break every single box and never die. That's right, you can methodically destroy every crate, fall into one pit at the end and get nothing.
So yes, if you're gunning for 100% completion, Crash Bandicoot expects you to play perfectly.
No deaths, no slip-ups, no mercy. But for now, Sanity Beach does its job. It teaches the basics, shows off the crate fetish and gives you a false sense of security. The real pain comes later. Jungle Rollers builds some momentum by introducing TNT crates, which are basically wooden time bombs. Spinning into them isn't the best idea. The polite way to handle them is to jump on top, then back off like you've just activated a microwave with tinfoil inside. You get 3 seconds to run before boom. Alternatively, if you're wearing all the Aku Aku masks, you can just plow through them like a vengeful freight train. During this brief window of invincibility, I blazed through the level like a furry missile. I barely noticed the new enemies. Skunks, man-eating plants, and some rollers that politely wait their turn to flatten you. Along the way, you'll collect 3 floating Tana tokens, and this whisks you off to a bonus stage. These are short detours where you can rack up a few lives and, more importantly, save your progress. So yeah, in Crash 1 the only ways to save are: number 1, getting a gem which requires all crates and 0 deaths. Number 2, finishing a bonus stage which not all levels have. That's it. No in-level manual saving, no post-level save screen. Just those 2 options.
Autosave in the mid-90s? As if.
Back in the day, this system nearly drove me to madness. Oh, and in case you haven't got a memory card, you can get a password instead. How thoughtful. One more thing about the bonus levels. There aren't any invisible walls preventing you from falling off the stage. Why? Anyway, spoiler alert, you can't get all the crates on your first go. That's because some crates are locked away behind colored gem platforms that only appear after you earn that corresponding gem in another level. Without dying, of course. So when you see a ghostly green gem vanish in front of your face, that's not a bug. That's the game saying, come back later, scrub. Still, Jungle Rollers is fairly gentle. The trickiest part is nabbing the extra life wedged between 2 TNT crates. It's like Crash's version of Operation. You need precision, nerves of steel, and possibly a spare life in your back pocket. Which kinda defeats the purpose. Welcome to the Great Gate, Crash's bold foray into 2.5D side-scrolling. Still rocking 2 Aku Aku masks, I snag a third and barrel through like Godzilla on espresso. Unstoppable. Until I hit this finicky wooden platform. Spin into these planks and they'll support you. Briefly. Next up you have monkeys rolling around and poor turtles who you jump on like trampolines. I'm calling animal cruelty, but hey, at least they're reusable bounce pads. Then there are spiked pillars, but they can't get me right now. Are you kidding me? Brilliant. Indeed, this is just a waiting game, nothing offensive. The tribesmen actually require some mild strategy. Their shields laugh at your spin attack and shove you away, which is dangerous near the pits. Instead, you've got to bounce on their heads and finish with a spin, a 2-step routine. That green stuff is slippery, and I guess I won't have to tell you that fire burns. All told, the Great Gate balances humble 2.5D hurdles with vanilla traps and the promise of a future yellow gem fueled detour. Boulders might be the most iconic stage in the entire series, Crash's worst morning jog ever, complete with rolling granite spheres. Rocks. Hot on your tail like you owe them money.
Crash Bandicoot.
Here you barrel towards the camera Indiana Jones style, dodging hazards and jumping over pits. The first time I ever saw something like this was in Mickey Mania on Sega Mega Drive, running away from a moose. In case you don't know where to go at first, Wumpa fruits form an arrow to guide you. Back in '96, forward-scrolling 3D chases were rare enough to feel disorienting, yet they nailed the angles so you can actually spot incoming hazards if you keep your wits about you. Press down, react, and you'll probably never get crushed. The real shame comes when you turn around to chase a missed crate and discover just how vindictive a boulder can be. It's over in a flash, and on my second try I got white gem number 2, feeling briefly like a god among marsupials. By the way, nothing filled me with more glee than seeing this very sequence in Uncharted 4. That was unexpected and such a nice callback to Naughty Dog's roots. What makes Boulders so enduring is its elegant simplicity. It's proof that sometimes the simplest idea, run from boulders, can leave the biggest mark on gaming culture. Upstream drops you into a treacherous river where Crash's inability to swim turns every mistake into a cartoonish swim lesson gone wrong. He won't even doggy paddle for you. You're sprinting across logs, leaping stone to stone, sinking lily pads, and riding on leaves that move back and forth. Watch out for the fish, they leap out of the water when you least suspect. This death scream with the black background reminds me of old Disney games like Aladdin or Lion King. I call them Disney despair screams. Then you have Venus flytrap plants that either snap shut when you step on them or at regular intervals, so you'd better nail the timing. You can't 100% this stretch until you've nabbed the orange gem later. Upstream is mercifully brief, yet sneaks in enough tricky jumps to sharpen your reflexes. Its real gift is its gentle reminder. If you can't handle logs and snapping plants, you're in for a rude awakening when the real chaos begins. Papu Papu is the first boss, and honestly, can you blame him for being ticked off? There he is, snoozing on his throne, I repeat, his throne, when Crash barges into his hut unannounced. He wakes up, slams his staff into the ground and starts swinging. No morning routine, no breakfast, just battle. Your only option? Leap onto his head. 3 perfect hops and it's nap time again. My brothers and I used to crack up at his exposed crack.
Pure innocent hilarity back in the day.
The fight itself is straightforward. Watch the rhythm of his swings, time your jumps, rinse and repeat. It's a decent first taste of boss combat. Rolling Stones is basically jungle rollers with a fresh coat of déjà vu. Same jungle settings, same man-eating plants, only now with more actual rolling stones. Though watching Crash dodge Mick Jagger would arguably be more memorable. This is also the first level where we find Brio tokens that unlock a more sinister kind of bonus round. One's tucked between TNT crates, just begging you to detonate yourself into next week. Get all 3 and you're whisked away to a bonus stage that doesn't let you save. You can get a bunch of lives, but they're harder than the Tawna bonus stages. No white gem here until we get the blue gem. Still, Rolling Stones is another solid jungle run. Uncomplicated, smooth platforming with a few more tricks up its leafy sleeves. Nothing brutal yet, but the jungle's warming up. Crash? Why the unsettling smile? For a second it looks like he's about to commit war crimes, but no. Thankfully, he's just saddling up for Hog Wild, the series' first proper ride the animal until someone gets hurt level. And that someone is probably me. The hog charges forward non-stop, so all you can do is steer and jump, which makes it feel like one long reflex test disguised as a joyride. As a kid, this level gave me trouble. Judging exactly where to be with the natives pacing back and forth while you're moving at hog speed can be trickier than it looks. The drums bounce you extra high and it's all a blast. There's a catch. If you miss one crate, it's back to the start for you, cowboy. Doesn't matter if it's the first or the last. If you screw it up, you're doing another lap. And I did. 9 of them.
I'd love to say it built character. It didn't. It just made me grumble at a pig.
Still, these auto-run levels are some of my favorites in the whole series. Fast-paced, no filler, just pure trial and error chaos. And after some swearing and a minor existential crisis, I snagged my 3rd white gem. Totally worth it. Probably. Native Fortress closes out in Sanity Island, and yes, it's basically the Great Gate, but taller, meaner, and with about 30% more spite baked into its architecture. The layout is vertical again, and while the platforming itself isn't hard, it demands patience. Mounds of it. Enemies and hazards get an upgrade here too. More fire, more spikes, more turtles and monkeys. And of course, the return of those lovely wooden platforms. Back with their gift of splinters and shame. One mistimed jump and you're sent on a scenic fall back to where you started. I'll be honest, I'm not a fan of this one. It's not egregious, it's just slow. Like stuck behind someone in a supermarket who's paying with coins slow. And what's worse, once again, you can't get the white gem. Why? Because you need the red gem from another level.
And at this point, this whole come back later nonsense is starting to wear thin.
So yeah, Native Fortress, more like Procrastination Palace. Let's move on. Welcome to Wumpa Island, where the water's clear, the flora's lush, and Crash still can't swim. We set off with Up the Creek, which is basically upstream on slightly more aggressive medication. The layout is similar, logs, lily pads, but now there are monkeys.
The variety.
This is also where my platforming confidence took a gentle nosedive. Precise jumps, landing on a single crate, easy in Crash 2 and 3. Here, not so much. Miss a crate, fall in the water, start over. It's a sudden reminder that in the original Crash Bandicoot, my personal nemesis is momentum control. Still, despite the occasional dip, I actually like this level. It's a well-built platforming challenge that never feels unfair. Plus, it marks white gem number 4 for me. Time for boss number 2. Ripperoo. A standout character in Crash Bandicoot and also a strong contender for most likely to be banned from a zoo. This is what happens when you take a kangaroo, remove all sense of chill, and marinate him with a cocktail of sugar, Red Bull shots, and maybe just a pinch of something that's a felony for possession. Ripperoo bounces around in a fixed pattern. Your job? Trigger big old TNT crates that lazily drift down from the waterfall. Time it just right so the blast hits him while he's in range. Mess it up and you get to wait for the next crate, like you're in purgatory. The fight's not bad, just kind of sleepy. You spend more time watching TNT blink than actually doing anything. But hey, Ripperoo's completely unhinged. It looks like he escaped a Looney Tunes asylum, and he's unforgettable.
Up until now, Crash Bandicoot has mostly been a fresh jog through paradise with the occasional pit of death to keep things zesty. Even back in the day, I handled it just fine and had fun.
But the Lost City? This is the turning point. Let's get the positives out of the way first. It's mostly a satisfying platforming challenge. The red sunset sky in the second half looks majestic, and you finally get your first colored gem, the illustrious green one. Yay, progress! Now for the rest of it. The Lost City is a strong contender for my least favorite setting in the original trilogy. That may come as a shock. Something about the mix of murky stone ruins and music that sounds like a xylophone having an anxiety attack just doesn't click with me. And then there's the gameplay. The very first jump has you awkwardly leaping into the foreground because for some reason, Crash can clear a wall from the right side but not the left. It feels like the level is gaslighting me. Don't take me for a fool. A bunch of sliding walls can push you into the foreground if you're sloppy. You don't want that. There's a hidden iron exclamation point above this bounce crate. Destroy the crate too early and you can't get it. Then there's this architectural strike of genius. I don't know how it works, but don't stand on the edge, trust me. They're really into these timed jumps. Iguanas are basically decorative. The bats though? They exist solely to stall your progress while you wait for their dramatic group flyover. A bunch of show-offs, am I right? You can technically stop them by spinning into 2 hanging bats, but by the time you've done that, you're already past the section, so thanks for nothing. Oh, and let's not forget the green and red lizards. Green hops in a fixed pattern. The red follows you around kinda like Koopa Troopas. One of them is also tied to a Brio token, which would be stressful if bonus crates actually counted for gems, which they thankfully don't. The level's ascent is long, repetitive, and it punishes failure by making you redo every single jump. So yeah, the Lost City, not my favorite, but not as bad as I remembered. With a green gem in your pocket, it's time to go back to jungle rollers, because Crash Bandicoot loves a good backtrack. In a rather vicious twist, this means playing through the entire level again, this time making sure you get every stinking crate. Fortunately, it's a super short stage, so it's not exactly a Herculean task, just mildly inconvenient. About halfway through, the green gem is just floating there like it's been patiently waiting for you to come back. Step on it and it politely levitates you up where you can grab 3 extra lives. That's it. Just a quick ride, a minor reward, and then you're plopped right back into the stage like nothing happened. It's a little underwhelming, but at least it's over before you can develop any opinions about it. 34% complete. It's been nice strolling through sunny jungles and stomping goofy skunks, but now Crash Bandicoot turns off the lights and ushers you into the moody temple ruins. As you might expect, it's dim, claustrophobic, and crawling with every trap Indiana Jones ever screamed at. Arrow shooters, collapsing platforms, and giant spiders thrown in for good measure. Naturally, there are bats. Of course, there are bats.
I hate those damn things.
The stage leans deep into technical platforming, with much of your time spent hopping between moving platforms over bottomless pits. Nice, a checkpoint. Oh, come on! Why is there a single lonely Wumpa fruit just floating next to that ledge? Oh, invisible boxes. Delightful. This is where Crash really starts playing mind games. The level is longer than most so far, and by the time I reached the end, I was sweating bullets. I missed a box? Where? So it's back to the start for another round. I think this time I got all of them. What? This must be a cruel joke I'm playing on myself. Eventually, I claw my way to that sweet, sweet white gem. But man, what a trek. Took me over 20 minutes. Temple Ruins has atmosphere to spare, but the action doesn't feel great, especially when I have to do it this often. Road to Nowhere gave me nightmares as a kid.
Honestly, childhood fear is an important part of this channel, and it gives us all a trauma bond.
Just seeing that rickety bridge pop up again triggered something deep inside me like PTSD, but for planks. That danger sign at the start isn't just decoration. It's a friendly reminder that you're about to suffer. The concept is simple. Move straight ahead across a foggy bridge where most of the planks are either missing or cracked. In reality, it's non-stop precision platforming where the margin for error is thinner than Crash's furry neck. Some planks collapse as soon as you step on them, others are coated in ice and send you skating into oblivion. And then there are the hogs. Those adorable little menaces that gallop across the bridge like gravity doesn't apply to them. Can't spin them, can't jump on them, can't stop them. Eventually the level demands turtle juggling. You'll need to bounce off them to clear huge chasms. And if your timing's even slightly off, well, see you back at the checkpoint. The only mercy here is that you can't get the white gem until you have the red gem, so I was free to run through like a maniac with no mortal fear. I had over 80 lives stocked up at this point, and Road to Nowhere made a convincing pitch to start spending them. Oh, and yes, you can walk on the ropes. It feels like cheating, and it's how I beat the level as a kid. No regrets. Honestly, this wasn't too bad on replay.
But knowing I'll have to come back for the gem, that's the part that keeps me up at night.
Boulder Dash, not to be confused with the classic video game from the 80s, marks the return of Crash's signature Run from Death Sphere extravaganza, now with a slight difficulty bump. It's still a blast, a pure adrenaline shot that never overstays its welcome, and I even get to return when I have the purple gem. But what's up with the mysterious fork on the map? How do I get to that hidden level?
Stick around because we're about to crack that secret path wide open.
Consider Sunset Vista as The Lost City Volume 2, same ruins with dialed up difficulty. The moving walls especially can ruin your day with their misleading patterns. The platforming is really fun actually, I just wish the setting and music grabbed me the same way. Visually, the top of the level treats you to a glorious crimson sky that almost makes you forget you're dying inside. New here are Cortex tokens. Collect 3 and you unlock a special bonus round. Naturally, my first attempt was a failure. Be patient with me. This is such a long stage, it just goes on and on. In fact, I read that it's the longest level in the game. I did manage to grab the white gem on my first run, but then I had to grind through most of the level again just for that fleeting Cortex bonus round. Which I did, and again, died almost instantly. Okay, again. Oh boy, I hate that there aren't any invisible walls in these bonus levels. On my 4th attempt, I made it to the end and got a mysterious key.
Man, playing this stage once was kinda fun, but 5 times wears out even the most patient platformer.
At least they tossed in a few stunning postcard moments to keep you from flipping your controller into the nearest lava pit. The first of 2 keys unlocks the hidden level Whole Hog, the bonus pig riding level that doubles down on Hog Wild's chaos. I honestly struggled to wrangle all the crates. Those enemies patrol in tighter patterns, I missed crates and jumped into a dead hog. You have to be perfect all the way through if you want to survive the many spike pillars and even longer jumps. After 8 glorious attempts, I finally smashed every crate and lived to tell the tale. With a restart feature, I'd be a happier GFrom. Super fun, but definitely more demanding than the first outing. Just when you thought you'd earn a vacation, Wumpa Island slams you into the 3rd boss fight against Koala Kong, a roided up marsupial who may or may not be a long-distance cousin of Donkey Kong Jr. Not as cute as his name would suggest either. The fight itself is gloriously uncomplicated. Dodge the hefty boulders he hurls and the surprise TNT crates that tumble in. Then wait for your chance to spin one of the stones back at him. Rinse and repeat until you've landed 4 well-aimed spin attacks. Because yes, this big lug has an extra hit point compared to Papu Papu and Ripperoo. Koala Kong's only saving grace is his character design. He's jacked and looks like he never left the gym, but mechanically he's a pushover. Still, pacing the ring one last time before leaving Wumpa Island feels euphoric, even if the fight itself isn't exactly worth a highlight reel. The 3rd island is appropriately called Cortex Island, and it casts you into the droning heart of the Cortex Power refinery, starting with the level Heavy Machinery. Apparently things are about to become industrial, but no guitars and drum machines. I'm talking surveillance robots, vacuum cleaners with legs, and even spike-tipped automations that'll flatten you if you so much as sneeze in their general direction. Slow-moving belts funnel you deeper into Cortex bowels. That sounds gross, I know. Sprinkled throughout are steaming hot and icy cold pipes. The cold ones are harmless. The doctor apparently forgot to wire in a freeze your butt off function. Later, spring platforms launch you so high you won't believe it. How do his ankles survive this? On my first run I missed 3 boxes, which are pretty well hidden. I mean, you have to take a leap of faith here, which seems suicidal at first. Of all the side-scrolling levels so far, Heavy Machinery is a standout. I thoroughly enjoyed it and even got myself a shiny gem. Proof that sometimes industrial espionage pays off. Cortex Power is unique because it actually has branching paths. Since you need the blue gem to snag 100% of the crates, you'll want to go straight to the exit on your gemless run. Let's talk about this one later. Generator Room is where Crash's childhood nightmares got an industrial facelift. Those giant monitors plastered with Cortex's unblinking stare feel like he's personally judging your thumb dexterity. There's no ominous N on his forehead here, so is he undercover?
Conspiracy theorists assemble!
There's a hidden platform which crashes through the floor 10 seconds after you step on it. So grab every crate before gravity has its say. This feels kinda similar to Temple Ruins, just with a different theme and the enemies from Heavy Machinery. It's the first time I really struggled, and most of my deaths were incredibly stupid and avoidable. Like, did my left thumb have a stroke or something? The camera isn't doing you any favors either. Those oblique angles warp your depth perception like a funhouse mirror, making simple jumps feel like blindfolded trust falls. This is not my jam. It's moody and it nails the creepy refinery vibe, but it's also a personal hell of thumb blisters. Who the hell is Pinstripe Potoroo? So yes, Generator Room earns major points for atmosphere, and Cortex's stony glare alone is worth the price of admission, but I'll be happy to leave this one in the memory card graveyard. The best thing is that I now have the orange gem. That means we return to the first island, diving into Upstream all over again. Only now the river's littered with orange gems. That camera angle makes me sweat like I'm defusing a bomb. But hey, the hidden 1-up crate is worth the risk. Maybe. At the end there's another gem taking you to more platforming antics before you finally hit the warp. Another round of misery. Maybe I was losing focus, or maybe the river just hates me. Either way, the game helpfully lets me know I'm sitting at a grand total of 60%.
My favorite level has to be the one called Toxic Waste.
Okay then, let's see if time has been kind to Toxic Waste. The premise seems harmless enough. Run full steam ahead and pretend you're playing 3D Donkey Kong. At first the barrels just tumble towards you until you spin through all of Pinstripe's hapless minions, which feel easy enough. Then the real fun begins. Some barrels bounce, turning an arcade setup into a jittery panic fest. For reasons beyond me, I toppled so many times into sludge that I lost count. Every death felt like my thumbs were staging a rebellion. Last time I played this game, I breezed through on my first try. On this run, my impatience turned a 2-minute dodge into a 30-minute endurance test of self-flagellation. My gamer's license is definitely in jeopardy. Still, even after all that frustration, I'd never call Toxic Waste a bad level. When you finally grab that perfect run, it's pure toxic sludge ecstasy with a sweet taste of blue gem at the end. Blame me for the misfires. Back to Rolling Stones we go. The blue gem leads you down to 6 boxes and a vaguely threatening stone mug of Cortex. That's it. Worth it? Debatable. Cortex Power's branching paths finally earn their keep once you've got that blue gem, because now it's time to tackle the real maze. Yeah, so here we handle some electrical hazards where timing is key and more of those boiling pipes. As a confessed crate obsessive, you'll zigzag between routes, some with dead ends hiding iron boxes, before you realize that forward sometimes means right into the screen. Thankfully the camera's been nudged upward just enough to properly see where you're going. The blue gem leads you to a new part where a glittering path of crates floats above neon green waste, peppered with ticking TNT. Pro tip: don't attempt to run over here in God mode. This level's openness feels refreshing compared to the linear mayhem you've endured so far. It's more about exploration than instinct. By the time you've crushed every last box, you'll have 15 gems jingling in your pocket. Pinstripe Potoroo takes Mad Scientist's sidekick to new extremes with 6 hit points and a fully loaded Tommy gun. He strafes the arena blasting bullets, then switches to a new position. That's when you strike. But I distinctly remember having a hard time with this dude back in the day. That's because at first I didn't realize that if you hide behind one of the flimsy chairs, Crash is safe. In later phases, wait for his gun to jam, then hop out and spin slam him. Rinse and repeat and you'll scrub him out. It's mostly a waiting game, plenty of time to sip your hot cocoa, but Pinstripe's manic energy and stylish design make it one of the series' most fantastic showdowns in my eyes.
So here's where we stand. After nearly 3 hours and 40 minutes of non-stop crate smashing, hog riding and boss bashing, I put down Pinstripe for good. But what if I tell you that the next batch of levels chewed up just as much time? I'm not kidding. It took me almost another 3 hours and 40 minutes to see the next boss. So buckle up, because the following levels are no joke.
The High Road is Road to Nowhere's sadistic older sibling.
The bridge gave me nightmares as a kid. I hated it so much.
This place is every bit as rickety, but with razor-thin margins and a devilish grin. As a kid, I discovered invisible platforms at the start. This led to many deaths because I didn't know that you could just run and jump at the second plank and be fine. Going for the white gem here is outright lunacy. Judging the distance is hard, especially when you bounce off of turtles. Here it's also important where you jump on them first. Make sure they're as close to the edge as possible to give you a better chance of making it over the gap. Miss your mark by a pixel and you're tasting bottomless pit air all over again. After roughly 30 minutes on this hideous bridge commute, punctuated by exactly 25 deaths, I finally nailed a flawless run. And let me tell you, that sweet perfect screen felt like winning an Olympic gold medal in masochism.
It's unbelievably rewarding if your idea of fun includes internal screaming and contemplating control or homicide.
In short, the High Road demands you to be a platforming virtuoso. Pull it off and you can bask in the triumph of perfect execution. Fail and you get to repeat the nightmare ad infinitum. As if that wasn't bad enough, the hardest 2D level of them all emerges from the depths of hell, Slippery Climb. Crash finally arrives at Cortex's soggy castle, and holy waterworks, does it feel like he picked the path of misery. It's raining and that reflects my mood perfectly. First off, it's insanely long and littered with dangerous tight platforming. Combine this with the fact that there's only a single checkpoint unless you can get all 3 Brio tokens, and this becomes one of the most insane levels even if you're not going for the gem.
Back then I died here constantly, and getting a game over sent me back to the High Road again. No wonder I used to hate this game.
Now that I'm armed with a military surplus of extra lives, I stomped in feeling cocky, until the moving platform horror show hit. Trying to land on those platforms in the foreground sends my brain into a full-on panic attack. Why does this part have to be so late in the level? In total, I spent about 25 minutes wrestling with it, and racked up 9 deaths. But on my perfect run, about 7 minutes of remarkable don't look down focus, I finally reached the summit. Along the way, the lab assistants make their first appearance. It's not the last we'll see of them. Yes, slippery climb is punishingly long and absurdly precise, but man, when you nail every jump and pluck that red gem from its perch, it's one of the most exhilarating feels this old marsupial has ever delivered. With the red gem crossed off the list, it's time for a nostalgia-fueled detour back to Native Fortress. Here you have to make it to the end, where the gem leads you up into the sky to a 1-up. At least the view is worth a postcard. Of course, my victory lap was cut short when the game informed me I'd missed 10 crates. 10? Where? I tore through the level again until I finally realized Crash can actually walk on clouds. Who knew? I certainly didn't, despite seeing him with angel wings in Crash 2. Consider the Native Fortress gem officially mine. Then it's back to Road to Nowhere. I'm done with bridges, man. Last time I blitzed through with impunity. Lives were meaningless, deaths were cosmetic, so I didn't flinch at missing planks. But now that the pesky white gem demands every crate, the bridge becomes a torture gauntlet. The red gem's trail leads you into a brand new section where you have to spin into a chain of iron crates, which is tedious, then loop back to the bridge. Except, I got stuck, staring at fog and wondering if the game was trolling me. A quick Google later revealed the culprit. An invisible gem sitting right under my nose until I stepped on it. It's too bright. Wow. Probably something wrong with my setup. Cue 25 minutes of bridge death reruns and doing that iron box spin puzzle on repeat. Finally, after enough controller abuse to warrant a restraining order, I cleared it. Such an awful level. Because I don't have the yellow gem yet, lights out is over before I can even break a sweat. The gimmick here is nifty. Aku Aku masks double as flashlights, illuminating the pitch black corridors, but only for a few moments. Once your mask timer expires or you take a hit, the screen goes full blackout. Good luck platforming when you can't see your own feet. Thankfully, this gemless run lets me skip most of the hassle. I just hug the walls. Literally, you can walk along the side rails to speed through some sections. Add in a few rat ambushes and swinging blades that slice through the gloom, and you have a fun little romp. It's a welcome respite after bridge hell and industrial nightmares. Just a jaunt through the dark, a couple of rat squeaks, and boom, you're back at the map. Simple, spooky, and exactly what my sanity ordered. Jaws of Darkness drags you back into the Temple Ruin torture chamber, and somehow it's a lot worse than Temple Ruins. I mean, look at these pillars, it's bonkers. This level is the only one where you already have the required colored gem in your pocket, so you're free to bounce between the blue gems to snag every hidden crate, assuming you survive the absurd platforming first. Tucked throughout are the final Cortex tokens. Wow, okay, that's not how you do it. What? What happened? Did you see that? I glitched through the floor and watched Crash tumble into the underworld. What the hell was that shit? Pure madness. I eventually hit the end only to discover a single missing box. Where? Nobody knows. Yeah, that was probably the one. Another 30 minutes spent on a single level to get the white gem.
But wait, there's more agony. I still don't have the key.
So I had to replay the level a bunch of times to collect all 3 tokens, only to fail after 2 seconds in the bonus round. One thing I haven't even mentioned yet. When you spin into an enemy, it flies across the screen. This can be handy when it takes out other foes, but not when it flies into a TNT crate that blows a box with a Cortex token to smithereens. I really hate this concept. But by the end, my loathing for Jaws of Darkness had reached epic proportions. It's the worst time I've had so far on this run. Fumbling in the Dark is the bonus level that makes Lights Out look like a stroll through a brightly lit mall at noon. Thanks to that hard-earned key, you're tossed back into dark corridors with only your Aku Aku mask for a flashlight. Except it flickers out faster than a TikTok trend. The stage opens with those joy-stealing towards the camera jumps, where you try to round up crates. These kind of jumps around the arches aren't fun, especially when you have to redo them every time you die. Then the real nastiness arrives. Swinging blades that feel custom drafted to bisect your elbows. Tiny platforms that might as well be razor blades for all the margin they give you, and spiders. This went sour for me. So sour in fact that I thought I wouldn't be able to do it. I couldn't seem to make it through. At one stretch of the level, the mask would always die. I don't think I'm that slow, but it's never enough. After 1 freaking hour, I stopped recording out of sheer defeat, grabbed a snack and convinced myself I was done for the day. But I couldn't let it go. I returned to the couch, resigned to my fate, and gave it another shot. It finally clicked that spinning into those 8-legged gremlins was the exact reason my mask kept deactivating. Spinning a spider didn't just kill it, it'd smash a Aku Aku crate in the dark distance, activating it instantly. That's why it always goes dark near the end. Cue facepalm of the century. Armed with that epiphany, I breezed straight to the exit on my first try, feeling equal parts victorious and utterly humiliated. This entire level took me 80 minutes to beat. What a disaster. Fumbling in the Dark is relentless, unforgiving and punishing. And after all that, there's still more levels waiting. Make it stop, please. Castle Machinery feels like Heavy Machinery's gentle spa day cousin. Call it a bonus mission. As soon as I touched the green gem at the start, I was whisked up into a secret vault of 27 extra lives. And then, just like that, the level ended. What have I done to deserve such a luxurious gift? It's the only gem path that spares you the usual crate carnage, so naturally I had to replay it the hard way to snag every last box. Ouch, my ankles. Leaping onto the foreground platform still gives me a mini heart attack, but the payoff of bouncy joy felt like a warm hug after the past hours of torment. With 22 gems in the bag and 90% complete, Castle Machinery is proof that sometimes Crash deserves a break too. Nitrus Brio, aka N-Brio, is the penultimate lunatic standing between you and Cortex's lair, packing a staggering 9 hit points and a chemistry degree gone horribly wrong. He starts by whipping up green potions that splat into gooey blobs. Jump on each one and you chip away at his health. Between those he lobs red vials that burst on impact. Stand too close and you'll learn firsthand why acid bath isn't a traditional spa treatment. Once he's down to his last 3 hits, Brio guzzles some radioactive sludge and mutates into Hulk Brio, turning bright green and doubling his heart rate. At that point, the strategy is mercifully simple. 3 head jumps and the Mad Doctor goes down. It's a straightforward battle, but probably my favorite of the whole game. I like Brio as a character too. He's a complete maniac. The lab is your last stop before Cortex's lair, and it treats you to a clever twist on the iron boxes. Spin into one and it temporarily unlocks a door. You can reuse them as often as you'd like. The challenge is timing them amid sparking electricity traps. Leftover yellow blobs from Brio's experiments lurk here too, but a quick jump attack sends them to goopy critter heaven as usual. Ooh, what a sneaky TNT crate. The lab assistants hover with crackling shields that force you to wait out their electric tantrums, complete with comical squeals when they fall to their demise. No Aku Aku masks make this trial feel subtly nerve-wracking, but never unfair, just a rhythmic test of timing, door unlocking spins and hazard avoidance. A respectable stage overall. Best of all, by the end of it you'll have finally grabbed the yellow gem, rounding out your collection.
The path to Cortex himself is now unlocked as well, but we have some unfinished business before we finally face him.
The yellow gem sends us sprinting back to level 3, the Great Gate, but this time the exit warp isn't the end. Beyond the gems is a brand new section that is surprisingly lengthy. Here you can even slip behind the fence for a cache of secret crates. Of course I was missing one at the end and had to do it all again. Apparently one of those sneaky boxes was crammed so far behind the fence I didn't even know it existed. Typical. In Lights Out's yellow gem run, the Darkness Gauntlet finally shows mercy. Touching the yellow gem whisks you to the top of the tower, where 3 lone crates await. A new warp pad then teleports you back to the map with the purple gem in hand, marking the last of the colored gems, and saving you from another round of pitch black pandemonium. There's just one white gem left, and it's stashed away in Boulder Dash. At the very end, the purple gem reveals a secret path. Welcome to Crash Bandicoot's glowing mushroom rave. It's an underground cavern drenched in green light, with the camera so low and pulled so far back that you can hardly even judge the distance over the spike pits. As always, dying sends you all the way back to the start, which means revisiting the entire boulder run. I like a good chase, but 4 times in a row is overboard. Still, Well, gem collected. And with that, 100%. Yep, the screen says it.
But there are 2 levels left, so it's too early to celebrate, even if that 3-digit number is tempting.
The Great Hall is your final platforming curtain call before the finale with Cortex. You could just jump straight over to the warp, but since Crash has all white gems, they form a path through the castle. It's a fittingly majestic send-off. Each gem bounce feels like a trophy for every crate conquered, every boss toppled, and every heart-stopping jump survived. At the end of this glittering gauntlet, Crash finally crashes into green skirt-wearing Tawna's arms before the two of them mount a giant bird and soar off into Crash's version of Happily Ever After. This is the alternate ending, and the game rewards you with amusing epilogues for each boss. Then the credits roll and you find yourself back at the title screen, armed with 100% completion, an arsenal of memories, and perhaps a slight twitch in your thumbs.
But aren't we forgetting something?
Yes, reload that save and enter the final boss. What? All my lives are gone? Yep, the game doesn't save your lives. Deal with it. Dr. Neo Cortex may be the final hurdle, but don't let the 5 hit point health bar fool you. This showdown is almost embarrassingly easy. You spawn atop his airship while wimpy Cortex zips around on a hoverboard, lobbing energy bolts in 3 colors. Pink that homes in like a lovesick pigeon, blue that zips across the screen, and the glorious green ones that you spin slam back at him. 1 green bolt and his toga ruffles. But then he cranks up the dosage, firing a cluster of greens that combine into a mega bolt when you spin into them. You reflect it back at him for a few more hits. Before you know it, Cortex flails off his hoverboard and plunges into the clouds below, while blue skirt wearing Tawna catches Crash in a romantic pose. That's not awkward at all. Yeah, we get it, Crash. You're happy. Now stop acting weird. The airship drifts into the sunset and the credits roll once again. Congratulations, your status as a Crash Bandicoot legend is officially sealed.
I'm not done yet. Let's talk about the music and sound.
When you boot up Crash Bandicoot, the very first thing that grabs your attention isn't a sweeping orchestral score, but Crash himself. He can't talk, but the few sounds he makes are perfectly timed and they suit his character. No full-blown voice acting except for the opening and Cortex's quip at the start of the final fight.
Come on, Crash Bandicoot.
The sound effects are a masterclass in clarity and charm. Every enemy squeak, every TNT countdown, every rolling Boulders rumble sits precisely where it should, never competing with or overwhelming the player's ears. In stark contrast, the music feels deliberately minimalistic, stripped down to its bare essentials, almost as if the composer said, what's the least we can do and still call it a soundtrack? And yet, to the game's credit, each track really does fit its setting. The jungle themes use simple marimba motifs to get you into tropical mode. The refinery levels employ mechanistic clunks and 2-note bass pulses to bring to mind conveyor belts. And the temple stages lean on minor key xylophone taps and droning pads to hint at ancient mystery. On paper, these cues are spot on. In practice, I never quite connected with their nuts and bolts approach. Most tracks rarely evolve or build. Instead, they circle endlessly, delivering just enough atmosphere to say jungle, factory, or temple without ever demanding center stage. Even the title theme, the one genuinely hummable melody, loops so incessantly on the world map that its cheerful appeal curdles into a nagging irritant. My least favorite track used to be The Lost City. I can't stand listening to the jangling xylophone for more than 3 minutes. But now I think it's Generator Room. This barely qualifies as music. That said, there are exceptions. Slippery Climb, for example, layers urgent percussion and tighter rhythmic motifs, giving you a real sense of escalating peril as you ascend. Boulders joins this short list of tense anthems, its pounding drums ratcheting up the adrenaline as you're chased by those infamous granite spheres. These are the rare moments where the music grabs you and says, this isn't a stroll, you better focus. Where the soundtrack truly shines though is in the boss arenas. Each boss fight boasts its own tailored theme, which breaks the minimalism mold, elevating key moments into genuinely memorable set pieces. The result is sound design that excels at supporting the game's tight platforming, never intrusive, never shrill, but a soundtrack that, despite serving its little role without any fuss or pretension, seldom rises to the level of truly memorable composition. In Crash Bandicoot, you won't find yourself humming most of the music once you power down the console, but there are still some tracks that I genuinely enjoy, so let me present you my top 5 songs from Crash Bandicoot. Number 5. Heavy Machinery's driving bass line is hypnotic. It's impossible not to bob your head as those metallic thuds and pulsing synths carry you through Cortex's factory. Much like the spring pads it accompanies, this track distracts you from the surrounding misery and turns a grueling conveyor belt gauntlet into a jolly good time. The opening bars in particular set the tone perfectly, inviting you to bounce along even as the hazards close in. Number 4. Of all the boss themes, oddly enough, the first one hits the hardest in my opinion. Papu Papu's theme has a heavy tribal rhythm that instantly conveys the character's goofy bravado, thumping along with a confident, slightly ridiculous swagger. It sets the mood perfectly for this chunky goofball's boss fight, and it's one of the few tracks that stuck with me long after the fight was over. Number 3. When those tribal drums kick in, you know you're invincible and it's impossible not to feel pumped. No melody, just a tight rolling drum pattern that turns every sprint into a rhythmic hammer down. It's simple, percussive perfection, fast-paced, energizing, and you can't stay still with this one. Number 2. Hog Wild is a stark contrast to the rest of the soundtrack because it really goes crazy, like its name suggests. It's breakneck, it's silly, and it actually varies throughout, making this porker all the more memorable and joyful. If I ever find myself charging through a tribal village on the back of a hog steed, you can bet this would be my theme. Number 1. Toxic Waste is the one track in Crash Bandicoot that I'd actually listen to outside the game. It's got groove, it's got tension, and it finally feels like it wants to be noticed. The percussion is arranged just right, the rhythm is catchy, and there's even a sense of momentum that fits the gameplay perfectly. This track actually builds a little, which is rare for this soundtrack, and it captures the feel of a dangerous factory without falling into the usual minimalist trap. For once, the music isn't just background, it's part of the fun.
Let's wrap this up.
Crash Bandicoot is one of those games you can't talk about without acknowledging its place in history. It was a technical marvel for its time, showing that the PlayStation could deliver a visually impressive, console-defining mascot platformer, something to rival Mario and Sonic. In 1996, this game turned heads. It had attitude, it had polish, and it was one of the first real steps towards 3D platforming on Sony's new machine, even if it was more of a narrow hallway simulator than an open playground. And even now, I respect that. I admire what Naughty Dog accomplished with the tools they had, especially considering the limitations of early 3D development, practically uncharted territory. But let's be honest, the first Crash hasn't aged all that well. Playing it today, especially in one desperate 8-hour marathon session like I did, is like peeling an orange with your teeth. You'll get something sweet eventually, but it's a rough and sticky experience. The controls are kinda stiff and the jump physics feel just a little off. The camera, sometimes hovering at an awkward, almost isometric angle, sometimes too low, makes basic platforming become a game of educated guesses and panic correction. You'll miss jumps you swear you timed right. And when you fail, the game punishes you with a save system that's somehow both stingy and cumbersome, tied to bonus stages and perfect gem runs. And that's not even mentioning the music. The soundtrack rarely does anything for me. It's minimalistic to a fault, often fading into the background with repetitive loops that evoke the general mood of a level without ever becoming something I'd listen to outside the game. There are a few standout tracks, sure, but most of the music feels like a placeholder that never got replaced. It doesn't have much heart. I won't pretend I didn't enjoy bits of it. There are levels like Boulders and Hog Wild that inject a needed burst of variety and personality, but for every one of those, there are 3 meandering 2.5D hallway stages that feel more like obstacle course marathons than well-paced levels. What made things harder was going for 100% in one go. And by harder, I mean genuinely spirit-breaking. The game becomes an exhausting loop of trial and error where one missed crate forces entire level replays. Some levels are so brutal and unforgiving that it's no wonder I never beat this as a kid. In fact, back then I had to rely on a level select code just to see the later stages. It was either cheat or miss out on them. Even now as an adult who's beaten harder games, this one tested me. There are no masks in some levels, checkpoints are useless when you're out for gems, and one misstep will send you right back to square one. Unless you got a checkpoint, then you have to exit the level and re-enter it, an exercise in tedium. It's not just difficult, it's old school unforgiving in a way that few modern platformers dare to be. Visually, it still holds some charm. The animations are expressive, and for an early PS1 title, it looks quite presentable. You can see the series' future potential brimming beneath the blocky surfaces. But it's the sequels that would take these ideas and really refine them into something special. In that sense, Crash Bandicoot is more of a prototype for greatness than a masterpiece in its own right. That's why I'd wholeheartedly recommend the Sane Trilogy remaster over the original. The improved controls, smoother movement, better save system, and general quality of life upgrades make the experience much more enjoyable without compromising the structure or style. It's still rough though, sure, but no longer feels like a personal vendetta. So where does that leave the original Crash Bandicoot? I admire it more than I enjoyed it, but I'm glad I finally knocked it out properly. I'm even glad I 100%ed it. But I will never play it like this again.
It's a game worth remembering, worth preserving, and definitely worth discussing. But it's not one I'd recommend worth revisiting unless you're prepared for a very bumpy ride through PlayStation history.
Hey everyone, this is GFrom. Thank you so much for watching episode 7 of season 5. Feel free to rate, comment, subscribe, and follow me on social media. You can also support me on Patreon if you like. I'll see you later. Have a nice day.